Super Meat Boy is a game developed by Team Meat, comprised of Edmund McMillan and Tommy Reffiness, with music by Danny Baranowski. I bought Super Meat Boy with the Humble Indie Bundle 4, and played the hell out of it back then. The game's Linux version hit Steam a year ago in November, and in my opinion, it's the definitive Super Meat Boy experience. The Steam for Linux release is what I'll be reviewing here. Super Meat Boy is the story of a guy who, for some reason, has no skin. I think. It's not quite spelled out why you're a meatball, but what is explicitly clear is that your girlfriend, Bandage Girl, has been kidnapped by the evil, mech suit-wearing Dr. Fetus. He's a monocled fetus in a jar who controls a robotic tuxedo for his nefarious purposes. It's your job as Meat Boy and his group of friends to rescue Bandage Girl from Dr. Fetus. The game's art style is firmly rooted in its Adobe Flash origins and McMillan's signature Newgrounds.com-esque style. There's an element of comedy with many of the game's cutscenes and in the gameplay. Each world has a different theme. There's the Salt Factory, the hospital, hell, and others. Even Bandage Girl has her own themed world. Each world has its own tile set and unique obstacles. The hospital has gravity-defying amoebas. Hell has, fire? There are many references to other games, particularly indie games. V's Captain Viridian, Minecraft's Steve, Half-Life's Headcrab, and BitTrip's Commander Video are playable characters. References to Street Fighter, Pokemon, Castlevania, Mega Man, and other titles can be found all over the place. And let's not forget the retro console references. The Atari, the NES, and Game Boy come to mind when listing the numerous and varied warp zones throughout the game's world. I'd be remiss to not mention the love the creators of this game clearly have for the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. So much so that both games abbreviate the same, SMB. The character select screen, warp zones, the world complete screen, the retro level start screen, the boss's white flag and fireworks after their defeat. This game is chock full of references to the Super Mario Bros. Series. Super Meat Boy is a tough-as-nails 2D platformer that truly challenges even veteran players. The object of most levels is to reach Bandage Girl. However, once you reach her, Dr. Fetus appears and kidnaps her once again. You must constantly dodge meat grinders, pillars of salt, trashed hypodermic needles, spike pits, lasers, missiles, giant amoebas, and other obstacles to save the one you love. There's no life limit except in warp zones, and each time you die, a replay is saved for later review. Once you beat a level, you view all the replays at once, which can be hilarious. The difficulty steadily ramps up from hard to 11 with each level you complete. By the time you reach the Cotton Alley, the game feels impossible, but your thumbs ache for one more attempt at each daunting screen. And when you complete these worlds after your 900th go, these worlds that feel impossible, you get that rush that only video games can provide. Then there are the boss fights. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of these fights. In an otherwise flawless game, the boss fights can sometimes feel cheap and forced. They look great, especially Hell's boss, but they're just not as fun as the rest of the game. Sometimes when the game gets really challenging, you can use other characters to help you complete the levels you just can't seem to best. The other playable characters have unique attributes, some more useful than others. If you press and hold A while jumping as Commander Video, you can hover a short distance. If you hold X while sliding on the wall as the Headcrab, you will remain stationary on the wall. If you press X next to a wall while playing as Steve, you can delete a tile. This can sometimes break the game. Steve can be downright unstable and crash to the desktop. It's happened to me on more than one occasion. When it comes to the precise controls, high praise must be given to the developers. They're perhaps the best controls I've ever experienced in a 2D platformer. Controlling Meat Boy is amazing. I must admit, though, that many of Meat Boy's compatriots, while they each handle distinctly, have varying degrees of controllability. Each one has a learning curve, and many have non-obvious usefulness. Some levels aren't even beatable with certain characters. If you're not using a 360 controller, you can configure your gamepad using Big Picture's controller settings. Some may gripe about this, but I find that a centralized, standardized mapping is preferable to hassling with each game's settings individually. Oh, and I'd recommend against playing this game with a keyboard. I used a wired 360 and PS4 controller for this review, and both worked well. However, I prefer playing with the DualShock 4 because of its excellent directional pad. Playing with the 360's analog stick lacks the precision of digital input. Sometimes the collision detection can be a bit wonky. I've jumped through walls, survived missile blasts, and don't get me started about moving platforms. What the hell is this? On the whole though, I find Meat Boy's controls exceptional. Forever Alone is a feature where you can download user-made maps. It was a feature lacking from the Humble Bundle version, as it depends on the Steamworks API. I played a few of the levels for my review, and some are quite fun. However, there are many, shall I call them, dumpy ones. I'd like to give special recognition to Danny Baranowski's soundtrack. I listened to it while writing this review, and it reminds me just how special it is. The title screen track gets stuck in my head, sometimes multiple times per day, often accompanied with Super Meat Boy! The game runs pretty well, especially when compared to its initial Linux version. As I've said, some characters can crash the game, but overall I haven't seen other instability. So, I'd say that if you don't own Super Meat Boy already, and you enjoy tight 2D platformers, you should buy this game. It's difficult, but in a fun, masochistic kind of way, and it's addicting. That's it for now. Feel free to check out my other videos, including my previous Borderlands 2 review. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more from me, the Linux Gamer. Thanks for watching.